Hi, welcome to our painting stream. I'm Nichole, and I'm joined here with my wife Lexi, you can see her hands over here.
Hello.
Today we're doing a little more gluing, and I might get into a bit more painting, and we might do a little priming where this dungeon set we've been building is almost done. So we're gluing up the last pieces of it. This is what some of the pieces look like. Here's what a finished piece looks like. These are pieces we 3D printed here ourselves. If you're interested in the designs, you can go to our website, dicendungeons.com, and under the Attributions tab, you can find the creators of these pieces. This is a painted tone set I have as an example. And these are magnetically linked, so they hold together like that for easy use. This is a door frame, but first we're going to be putting together a whole bunch of pieces. So what we do is we have this little base with magnets in it, and we glue on parts on top. Oh, did you just glue that together yourself?
Yeah. I'm moving along because this is setting. Why don't you explain about the resin?
So we're using a 5-minute epoxy to glue these together. What that means is it's a 2-part glue where you have an epoxy and you have a hardener. When the 2 pieces are mixed together in equal parts, you then have about 5 minutes to get them glued on before they harden. They make other types as well. If you want, just hand those to me and I'll...
I got it.
you... So we're making, here are some central floor tiles, as you can see. And I'm setting them over on our back shelf here to dry. I did just realize I don't have music started.
Shame.
I know, sorry about that. I'm just gonna get that up and running. Alright, there we go. And yeah, getting through these floors first. They're the simplest to do. And if that's starting to seize up... What?
No, I just made a first batch.
Okay.
I'm doing kind of smaller ones.
So now we're doing some arrow slits. And some walls. Just a variety of things. We have windows, we have walls. This is a window piece.
Oh no.
You have escapes.
I have escapes and they're covered in...
That is a thing that happens. I'll use the isopropyl. It's a little easier on the fingers. just using a little alcohol to remove the epoxy that got all over my fingers. And I don't like how it smells.
That's good. And now I need to mix up another batch here. I'm trying to do them in small ones. Because if they're smaller, it's a little easier to handle.
Once we get through these, which take up a lot of space while they're pre-built, then we're going to put the top beams here on top of these doors, which will create a full door frame. The doors will not get added until after painting because they'll be 20 million times easier to paint beforehand. Oh, you just pour them together in a single blob.
Right next to each other, but keeping the tips of the jars apart.
Gotcha.
I don't know if there's a right way per se, but that was a way that made sense to me, so I did it.
Not particularly. As long as they're about equal in parts, because if you don't have enough hardener, then it'll stay gooey. Here.
Yep, those.
Watch out for the balls.
Those jump out.
What might help is just to, instead of spreading too much, do like a... Oh, hi cake game lady. Yeah. Have a good time working, and thanks for coming by to lurk. We are gluing together a bunch of dungeon tiles that we'll be painting pretty soon. Yeah. Getting some epoxy, having some minor magnet jumping out issues. Nothing too serious. Yeah, you can just glob on like that. That should be good.
I'll let you.
I usually don't bother setting them too much until they're over here, because they will move. So what I'm doing is getting epoxy set so that they create little dungeon tiles like this. And this is pre-primed, pre-painted, but it's a good idea. Here's a finished dungeon tile with a wood floor and a Tudor wall.
Alright. I'll need a little adjusting, of course.
Just moving pieces over here. I'm transferring all the pieces to a less used area where they can cure. And just making sure everything is on flush with the base and everything like that so that we don't run into we don't run into too many inconsistencies there. The printing process isn't always 100% perfect. There can be some minor differences in each piece, but overall it shouldn't stop there from being a nice cohesive look to everything. And we're putting in a window for today, right now. I'm gonna go set this to dry, but there's a dungeon tile with a window. We also have some that have arrow slits, but I think they're all already over there. So
Yeah, there were 3 of them already glued of the arrow
Yeah.
slits.
here's one with an arrow slit. And you just assembled this huge set that we've been building a bit, didn't you?
Yeah, I was testing to see if we really had all the parts and pieces, because when I designed one of these dungeon sets for our show, I learned early on that the best thing to do is design something that's very large. I haven't do that. Very large and very varied.
Yeah, complicated.
Yeah, sort of complex, variable set pieces, so that I'd never run into the situation where I need to have a certain type of piece, and I don't. So the set that we designed for this one, it got put together as much as it could be just a little while ago. It's so large that it could not fit on our table. And we had everything we needed. We did indeed print out all the pieces. And in classic IKEA fashion, we have a few extra ones.
Do we?
We do.
That makes sense.
We have a couple extra pieces that we printed one too many of.
Are you gonna sell them? Down to the last 3 of our bases, and then it's just a matter of putting these crossbars, these little tiny crossbars on top of our door frames. And then I think almost all the gluing that we're going to be doing for this set.
There are a couple of pieces that I didn't design in this
That you want.
in this set. Some internal facing corners are some pieces that I don't have in this design. So we'll print off a couple more of those later. And do this separate.
I really am not a fan of the smell of epoxy hardener, but it is what needs to be to get the job done.
Yep. That's why I volunteered to do this bit. Because most smells bother me less than they bother you.
Yeah. That's because you can't smell half of them.
That is true. I am notoriously
Asthmatic.
stuffed up.
Yeah. That should be good.
I should just put them in. And then I haven't done the door tops before.
The door tops will be pretty straightforward.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all you'll really need to do is put a dab in this little corner here and this little corner here. Does that make sense?
A dab there and dab there? Right?
Yeah, just on top of the frame and the top along the upper edge. Here?
There's one.
So with this little tiny bit of epoxy up in there, then all I need to do is pop in the top of this door frame into place, make sure it's basically straight on.
Give me a little one. Thank you.
And this door frame, when the doors are painted and ready to go, they have a little hole in them, and you can use a little metal rod, you can use like a paper clip straightened out to create a hinge so that you have working doors in your dungeon tiles, which can be kind of fun. But you don't really want to try and paint a door that is already inset into a door frame. I don't think you'd want to do that in miniature or in real life. Right? If you can help it.
I was very focused on getting this. I missed what you said.
Oh, I'm just talking.
There. I think that's all the gluing.
That is all of the gluing, I believe so, yes.
Alright, I'm gonna... Fingers in the...
Might need to refresh it, it's right down there.
It's a little refresh.
Here is a nice little pile of door frames. Now, with the sheer volume of dungeon pieces we have, and since these are still drying a little bit, we're going to be priming them using an airbrush rather than like a spray can. We'll probably be, and we'll want to do that in a more ventilated area, ideally. So that might not be shown on camera here. But the next time you see these pieces, we'll have a giant bucket of primed dungeon tiles.
Yes, many, many dungeon tiles.
And we'll be putting in base coats and all sorts of stuff. So, in the meantime, maybe we'll actually do a little painting. Or at least I will. I don't know if you have to run off and...
I have many things to attend to today.
So. Well, if that's the case, thank you for helping glue. Maybe you could grab me a little mug with water if you're running around. And a cup of water for my brush would be perfect. Thank you. So, I have recently finished a... Yeah, there should be a bunch in the bathroom as well.
Are there?
I recently finished painting this big arcane looking crystal that I'm, pretty happy with. So, what I'm going to do is make a the next size down. We have another one here. So I will be working on that for a little bit here. I will thank you for the one. Alright, so to get this effect that I did on this sort of arcane crystal glowing vein effect, I'm going to have to do a few treatments to the outside of this crystal. What I have on it so far is just a basic blue coat on the crystal, and I did a little testing with the silver color on it earlier, and I'm going to build on that. So to get that effect, what I need to do is find this, my chrome color paint, and give that a nice little shake for a bit. Oh, thank you.
Give me a shot if you need anything else.
Okay. So I'm gonna put a few drops of chrome paint in here, and I don't want it super thick. And since it's an acrylic water-based paint, I'm gonna take a tiny little bit with an eyedropper and drop a drop or two of water in to thin it out a little. And I'm gonna use this sort of medium brush, I think. Mix that around. Alright. So what this chrome, this sort of thinned chrome is going to do is it's going to give a sort of silver sheen effect to my crystal here. And I'm going to put some different treatments over the top of it as well, to sort of tone it down, back down a little, because this is going to really brighten it up. But I want that reflective quality to it that you get with the metallic paint. And since I watered it down, some of the blue is still going to show through, which is something I want. I don't want it to be completely covered up. And since this is sort of a naturally formed crystal, I don't have to be extremely precise with getting every place fully coated. There are areas that might be a little shinier than others, just because of the way it formed. And that inconsistency could kind of play into the natural look of this crystal. We also have a very small crystal I'll probably coat as well while I have this mixture here and available. And I periodically sort of dab off my brush after getting paint on it. And that's just to control the volume of paint. As you can see, it's forming a very reflective, shiny surface on this crystal while maintaining a little bit of that blue coming through. Making sure I get these little crystals as well. Okay, one little crystal left in my cluster here. Alright, so here is the crystal with the reflective silver layer on it. So we have a few more things that will go overlaying this, but this is sort of the next layer. Let that dry for a little bit. And I'm going to grab, I have a relatively teeny tiny crystal here. And I'm going to give that a quick coat with whatever I have left of the chrome here. These are sort of magic arcane crystals that are used in our D&D game quite extensively. And if anyone watching is interested in seeing any of these figures and dungeon pieces we're assembling used, our D&D stream is on Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern. There's a little silvered crystal. And that should be good because I'm pretty much just out of chrome. Just the right amount. So what I might do next, before I tackle more layers on the crystal, I'm going to clean up the stone base that it's attached to a little bit. Because the next layer that's going on top will be a sort of inconsistent layer of black wash to tone down certain areas. But that will include gray base. So I would like to have the gray base as clean and ready to go as possible. This is in order to create this sort of stone, simple gray stone base on the bottom. So I'm going to use a relatively fine brush here. And it's mostly just along the bottom parts and edges of the crystal where maybe a little silver got down onto them. I don't need to be hyper precise about these, just get the most obvious and glaring problem areas covered up. That was pretty simple actually. And then there's not a whole lot of base on this little guy, this very small crystal. But what there is, I will make sure gets consistent and covered up. Alright, so the next thing I will need is not that one. I need to find my black wash, which is currently in hiding directly in front of me. Here we go. And so the way a wash works, for anyone who is unfamiliar, is it's effectively what it is just a very thin paint. It's a paint that's been thinned out quite a bit. And what that does is it creates a loose and translucent paint effect. So something that is bright chrome, for example, can get toned down, like the armor on this figure here. I can get some focus. There it goes. So I toned down some of this armor with a black wash, for example. And what it also does is, because it's loose, it will naturally seep into crevices on a 3D model. And that will create lower and lighter areas of contrast that helps the visual appearance of a given model. It can also be used pretty effectively for weathering. And that's going to be sort of what I'm doing here, is I'm walking you through this while I let these dry a little. You don't want to apply wash onto wet paint, or else it will dilute it. But a nice thing about wash is if you put a little too much on, if you just have some paper towel handy, you can actually wipe away most of it or create highlights using that technique even. Sorry, and yeah. So what I'm going to be doing is I have these silvered blue crystals, and they're a little too bright. I want them to look sort of natural and worn. So and create a darker surface for the arcane veins that I'm going to be putting in later to stand out on, like I did on this one. So, to that end, I'm going to be wearing it down and weathering it a little bit using a black wash. It'll reduce some of the luster without getting rid of it, and I can apply it inconsistently to create areas that are a little brighter and areas that are a little more weathered and darkened. So, I think that's dry enough. It was a fairly thin paint, so it dries pretty quick. Wash, on the other hand, is so wet, it actually can take a little while to dry. So I'm going to do almost a dry brush technique where I get some paint on my brush and then dab a lot of it off. And this will let me really just control the volume I have on the brush, and I'm going to just really give it a nice spreading around all over. And I want areas that have a bit more, and I want areas that have a bit less. I really want to make this look uneven in its distribution. This helps play in a little bit to the sort of weathering effects maybe that happened with this crystal. However, it was sitting in the cave, maybe part of it was a little more exposed than another part. For example, to that end, I'm kind of trying to get a little more weathering on the lower parts of the crystal. Because that's where maybe water or other things would have slid down the crystal onto the ground. And the end effect is going to create sort of a dark but reflective mottled blue crystal. If I can get focus. And this will create sort of the backdrop of the crystal that the arcane veins will sit on top of, in order to really have them stand out. If you want something like that to stand out, you don't want light on a light background. So instead of something this bright, by toning it down a bit with the wash, I'm able to really create a contrast that will make the aquamarine that I put on later stand out that much more. Right?
Hi. Oh, sorry, I missed.
You're okay.
Okay.
So we glued together. Lexi and I glued the last pieces together.
Mm-hmm.
Everything just will need to be primed, obviously.
Yep.
And then I've just been working on painting
The crystals.
other two crystals. I'm getting them ready for
The aquamarine.
the
manufacturing.
aquamarine. Yep.
Oh, there's a lot of doors.
Yep. There's a whole lot of doors in that set. So if you feel like it, you can paint some horses or something.
Yeah, that's 15 minutes of the stream.
An hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, that never fell back. It never fell back.
So, here, I'll show the camera. This is what my dad's been painting. It's a fancy parade horse. And it looks like you have pretty much all the base coat on, and now it's a matter of, like,
Yeah, maybe doing some highlighting, I'm not sure.
doing a little highlighting and doing a little, like, I don't know if you want to wash any of it.
I'm not sure. I was thinking, I wanted to see what the wash looked like on the light blue.
I think it would look good.
I'm not sure I want to put wash on the beige of the horse. But what I was thinking of doing, to make it even blonder, was doing some white highlights
On the ivory.
on the ivory to see how that would look.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is put some of the light blue on like a piece of paper or something and put some blue wash on it and see what happens.
The blue wash probably won't show. Just based on
Yeah.
experimenting I've done with the crystal.
Hmm.
But the black wash probably would.
Okay. Well, let's see what happens.
But that's just, I did a lot of blue-based experiments with these crystals over the last while here. And I doubt that the blue wash will show on that light blue. But feel free to try, obviously.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a try. Let's see what happens.
Meanwhile, I guess I will be getting into some aquamarine. Or turquoise, sorry. Not aquamarine.
I'm going to go get a
Water cup.
little water cup. Yep.
And these are small, and I'm not going to be using that much, so I'm going to really try and just get, like, a drop of turquoise here. No need to waste any. Get my little go-to brush. I'm just gonna be freehanding these sort of arcane veins into the crystal. I don't really have a specific plan in mind. There's the beginning of focus. There we go. Just the beginning of these sort of bright arcane veins. Okay. There's some of the arcane veins coming on.
Yeah, those really look good on it. The effect is much better than the black you had on before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been a lot of testing and experiments that have happened on these crystals.
Yeah, I missed some of those.
There's a lot of layers of paint underneath some of these crystals, I'll say. Just because it's such a odd but specific design I'm going for, where they kind of need to match some of the stuff that's happening in the world that we play in, where there's these sort of half nuclear, half arcane crystals that are used in a wide variety of things. So having crystals in their natural state before they're mined and refined in this world might come up. So I wanted to sort of work towards matching the aesthetic as described in our game with the paint on the crystal itself, while also working with the parts that I have, the paints and stuff that I have, and what I am able to do technically myself.
I think it gives it a better color. It doesn't show up a lot. But
It's pretty light, but whatever you want. You like your colors way more saturated than I do.
Mm-hmm.
I like to have everything a little more toned in. And you like to have very bright colors.
Yeah, well, especially on this guy.
I don't think that's just a stylistic choice. There's not a right or wrong way. So whatever you, the viewer, who might be interested in doing something like this,
You can do it your way.
you can do it your way. However that looks. Okay. So there is 2 crystals painted in with the arcane veins, as it were. And we'll be on to the next one after I throw the crystal on the floor.
Stupid gravity.
Luckily, they're pretty steady.
Yeah, those are pretty solid pieces.
So,
But yeah, gravity can really get you down though.
just a drop. Thank you. Sometimes, if you just want a single drop of paint, it will fight you, but it's all too heavy to squirt out a liter. You just have to be a little patient with the bottle sometimes.
Well, it's kind of subtle, but I think it made a difference.
Good.
Now I have to do one more thorough check over, and then once it's kind of dry, paint its hooves. I also need to somehow do its nostrils and eyeballs without making a mess of everything. That'll be tricky.
I'm gonna take a very, very fine, your smallest point brush, put just a single drop of black wash on it, get 90% of that black wash off the brush with a paper towel, and then very carefully poke. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to try to do. Supposedly, you can also use a pen to do this. Like there's really fine tip.
I always find that it always ends up making bug eyes whenever I've tried it.
Yeah. Well, the nostrils are pretty clear. The eyeballs, I'm going to have to, when I get to them, I'll have to ask you to identify where the eyeball is. Okay, I seem to work on the nose.
Doing the tiny black wash spot
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Clean this. So, how much of this lump is the eyeball?
Just like a little crescent on the bottom. It's like an eyelid.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess this is the eye. There's like a lid like that.
Yeah. So
And there's just a little,
just
there's like a little crescent on the bottom of the lump.
so just that little bit like that.
Lower. Along the bottom edge. Yeah.
Down there.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. No.
Yeah. Sometimes you overcompensate how little you have for fear of putting too much on.
Like that.
Sort of. It's a little further back on the head.
Back here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll repaint that with the taupe.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting a little bit of lumping on my brush, which is causing a problem. So
More like that.
yeah, it's closer.
Okay, I'll let that dry and then
Clean it up a little.
Clean it up, yeah. Oh, okay. So this eyeball is more like horizontal like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how it should be?
Yeah.
So this one should be more like there.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, there's my arcane crystal coming along. I'm getting through some of the larger crystals here. Slowly working my way down to the smaller ones. With a little fresh paint. Just a drop at a time.
I'm just cleaning the putty off the hooves, which had been doing a very nice job of holding it on, but some of it kind of stuck.
Yeah. That is why you don't put your painted model in putty. Because it's fine if it's unpainted generally, because you can scrape it off, but...
So I'm going to use the Viejo black because it's kind of shiny. Ooh, shiny.
Makes sense to me. Okay. Now I just have a couple little lumps of crystals left on the bottom of this medium size one. I'm actually gonna get this side painted in. Okay, one last little crystal to do on the medium one. Okay, there is a medium-sized arcane crystal. Now I have this little guy left, which shouldn't take too long as I am delicate with it. To that end, I'm gonna give my brush a little cleaning here, just to get any dried chunks off, where paint might have accumulated in an awkward spot. Stretch my back a little. And take a drink. These have been a lot of crystals.
Yeah, that's about the fourth time you've been over those.
Yep. I'm still not in love with them, but I don't think there's a good way to do them. One thing I've thought about doing is spray painting a little varnish over them.
Mm-hmm. Like some of that
Like
gloss,
a clear coat.
some of the gloss lacquer.
Yeah. As a clear layer, just to give them a luster.
Yeah, well, when we start doing priming, even though it's kind of flammable, we're not going to use a lot of it. We can do it down here.
Yeah, it'd be better to do it up where it's ventilated.
Yeah, a bit better.
You don't want to display non-safe practices on the internet.
No,
No.
like blowing up the house because you're spraying lacquer and the furnace comes on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, for better or worse, this is it. Here is your
Hold it.
fancy dancy pony.
Very nice. It's a very fancy pony.
Mm-hmm.
You can set it with the animals if you want.
What did that red spot get there?
Oh, probably on your finger.
No, I didn't have any red on.
Then maybe from before.
Really, just a little. Shouldn't have been possible.
I haven't had any red out today.
No, me either.
Alright. Let's
Gotta get the red out.
now I'm gonna work on finishing up my little teeny crystal here.
No, I know. There's a little red paint left in the bottom of the cup, and when I use the wash, a little flake came off.
Mystery Salon.
You gotta use cleaner cups. Okay, now what? We do with the dog. We'll put the pony there.
Well, it's 4:15. If you're not sure what to do next, I just have this little crystal to finish, and then I finish my major project for the day.
So we could end up at like 4:30.
About 4:30, if you have something you want to work on until then.
Well, let's.
You could clean cups.
I can clean cups. Yeah.
That I just used for Chrome today, so.
I'm gonna go clean cups.
Why don't you clean them here so people can see the cup cleaning process.
The cup cleaning process involves a sink.
Well, unless you use alcohol.
No, I can do that. Well, what I am going to do is I'm going to rinse these out with water and then clean them out pretty well with some isopropyl. Right there.
Just getting these real small arcane blue veins in this crystal. If it will focus. But it won't.
So what we have here is a big collection of used cups.
That need some cleaning.
Yeah, so you need some cleaning and being tossed. You can buy these at a hobby shop, like 100 of them for $10 or so. But you know, we're parsimonious, so we tend to try to reuse them as much as we can. There are some that are so badly covered that really just not even for washing. Others are fine for washing out brushes, and others can be cleaned up enough that you can use them as a little reservoir for paint. So that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, so clean them up. Oh, you must have had it out when you were.
Yeah.
You buy this at a drugstore for disinfecting things. You can also get it by the gallon. It's exactly the same stuff that you use for disinfecting a wound or washing something down, except it's like about a third the price because it's a gallon. So for those of you who are all excited about cleaning things, although you can see there's speckles and stuff around the top, bottom, it's perfectly clean, so you can use that for paint reservoir or a wash without it getting any guck on it.
Or random red spots in your saddle.
Or random red spots like I just got on my horse. These metallics really don't clean with this. Try something else in a bit. This looks like it'll come clean. This is the one that was being used for the aquamarine.
So, well, this is finite work on this crystal. There's not a lot of surface area either, so it's fine fairly quickly. Although I am running into slight issues with the filament layers because it's so much smaller. They're a lot more pronounced relative to the size of the piece. We use a PLA deposit print for these, which means it's like a little filament of melted plastic that gets laid down in layers, and as a result there can be a very fine grain that gets built up as it goes along. I don't get another drop of paint out, but I have to. I can only apply it so fast, so even if I just have a single drop of paint, some of it dries in the bottom before I get a chance to apply it.
So I've got a paint cleaning thing, and a bunch of these can be used for paint again. This one probably can too.
There is a last crystal. If you want, you can just drop that in there.
Clean that off at the same time.
I've now gotten through all my crystals. We're about 4:30. We got a lot done. We got the last of our tiles that for the main set all glued up. So I have tiles like this. The next big thing that comes with these tiles is they all get primed. So what that means is for the volume we're doing, we're going to get out the airbrush somewhere ventilated for safety. Although it's not nearly, airbrushing isn't nearly as bad as like a spray can because of all, what is it, CFCs or something?
No, it's volatile oil-based propellants.
There's all these weird, bad for you propellants in spray cans. but it doesn't hurt to be ventilated when you're doing anything. So, for the volume, we're going to break out the airbrush. We have big bottles of surface primer. And everything, all of them, are going to get a coat of primer. And primer is like a pre-paint paint, where you put it on and it just helps the paint adhere. It gives it a better surface to stick to. And it just makes everything a lot less painful. And it also helps keep the paint on. If you don't prime beforehand, sometimes the paint might flake off in some areas. Things like that. So it's always good to prime before painting. So we have about 1.5 million of these little tiles.
No, there's a lot of them.
All in this bucket. A completely full large tub of tiles. That I'm going to be adding these to. And there will be a massive priming. And as soon as we have them all primed and dried, we're going to be digging in, and hopefully we have enough neutral gray.
No, we don't.
We have...
I mean, there's
this one's pretty much full.
1.5. We'll see how far it goes. Might need to order more.
The neutral gray will constitute the base coat of all of these tiles, because it's going to be like a gray stone. What we'll probably do next then is go over with this darker gray and hit specific stones and just put a little variation into the each piece. And then we will be finishing up with a gray wash, which will introduce some dark inconsistencies throughout the piece. Just give it a nice, real, like, worn-in sort of vibe. So, with that said, I have a ton of pieces packed up here. A couple more here.
Yep.
Some
When we start putting gray on,
central floors.
we'll be using a large brush with a large amount of paint on it and just
Powering
doing
through
a whole lot of gray.
We have
color.
like probably 8 pounds of dungeon tiles.
Yeah, what did Alexis say?
5 pounds of dungeon tiles.
Like 2.5 spools of raw material.
Yeah, and a spool. I think those are 1 kilogram spools.
Yeah, so it's like a little more than 5 pounds.
Well, if it's 2.5, it would be closer to 8,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, it's 2.2
Yeah,
per
kilograms.
Yeah, so it's 4.4 plus another 1.
So 5 to 6
5 to 6 pounds of
of dungeon
stuff
tiles.
that needs to be fried.
All right. Well, we're at just about 4:30.
Yep. Thanks for
Thanks
joining
for
us.
joining.
Glad I could join again. I've been hit and miss lately.
Crystals are done. 4C is done.
Mm-hmm.
And we will be here next Friday. Hopefully, I think we'll try and get those primed in the next day or two.
Yeah, we can give that a go.
And then we'll be able to just start digging into dungeon tiles on Friday. So, thank you everyone for watching. And we will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.